Welcome to this two-part episode with a very special guest, Marisa Prana. Marisa is the owner and founder of ButterflyPrana. She is also a spiritual mentor, life and success coach, motivational speaker, and entrepreneur. I hope you enjoy part one of Spirituality with Marisa Prana. I have somebody very, very special with me. Miss Marisa is here. She's going to introduce herself, but I am extremely excited to have her here. Very important person in my life. We've met, how long ago has it been?
A year.
It's been a year. Oh, right, our year anniversary just came up. Amazing. We'll get into how we met, but I want Marisa to explain herself and just talk about herself a little bit. And then we're going to dive into the episode that I think is really important to talk about. And I think people are going to be like, what is this episode? Like, what? This is the Kristins Show, New York licensed social worker and board certified life coach. I just want to help you explore different ways to think. Thanks so much for tuning in. I've never spoken about this before that much in my podcast at all. I just started my podcast, but this is a topic I haven't really spoken about either on my Instagram. So it's going to be very interesting. So Marisa, welcome, my beautiful friend.
Hello, beautiful.
Hello.
Thank you
Hello.
for having me. I feel honored and privileged.
Thank you.
You're welcome. No, this episode is going to be amazing.
Yeah.
But I am Marisa Prana. I am a spiritual leader, a spiritual mindset coach, life and success coach. I'm a motivational speaker, soon to be author, and I do everything else you could think of that it just feels good to me, honestly, right? Yeah, I love Kristen to pieces. I think she's just a ray of fucking sunshine. And
hear that, guys? I'm a ray of fucking sunshine.
But emphasis on fucking.
Fucking,
all right?
yes.
Yes, because I would go for about maybe 6 months with an 8 a.m. voice note from Kristen, 10 minutes long.
Yeah.
On her morning walks, and I will tell you, they were the best 10 minutes of my morning.
Poor Marisa. She had to say that because she was my life coach for a while.
I
feel like she had to say that, but you're just so kick-ass. You're so kick-ass. Poor thing, I would always voice note her, right? Well, you hire a life coach, so you're like, I'm gonna like reach out to you whenever I want.
Hell yeah.
I need you. That's why I voice noted you. So this poor thing would give voice notes of me on my walks. And I can only imagine, I don't even remember what I would say. Probably complaining a lot.
I love every second of them. No, they were all like, hello, good morning. Here I am, darling. I'm on my walk. I'm like, yes, Kristen, you go, girl. You go for your morning walk. It was cute. But
thank you.
Yeah.
I'm very cute. So today's episode, I know obviously I want it to be about spirituality, which I think people are like, oh, what is that? I know. And it's weird for me to talk about that because this is not like my realm. And I'm going to say the reason why I felt like it was important to talk about. So in the beginning of the work of me and Marisa, so I hired Marisa to be my life coach. I actually begged her, I'm like, please, I need help. I need massive help. And we did so much amazing work together. And a lot of it was during when I was getting married. And that was some intense shit. So a lot of it was just keeping Kristen alive. That's really what it was. Would you say so, Marisa?
It was definitely keeping Kristen sane,
right,
and calm,
right,
and productive.
Exactly. And that's very hard during a very stressful time. Add on the crazy amount of anxiety that I was feeling in that moment of getting married, but also the trauma that I was going through. Yeah. So it was so hard. And Marisa, I hired her because I just had a connection with her. And so we'll take it back a year ago. We met when I became a board certified life coach. She was there assisting Amanda, who runs this whole program about becoming a life coach. So we kind of spoke, we kind of connected. And how long after that did we say like, I wanted to work with you?
Yeah, so that was June 2021 when you went to get certified, and then you reached out to work with me in about July, but we didn't start until September. Mhm.
September. That's right.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, a couple months it took,
Yeah.
but that's how, but honestly, that's how it works, you know?
Yeah.
It's because you have to initially meet and then get to know someone and
Yes.
feel into them. Hey, is this worth an investment of my time, my
Well, that's
energy?
exactly what it is, right? It's an
Yes.
investment.
Mhm.
So when you hire, and everyone's different, when you hire a life coach, it could be at times an investment. And it's something that you really do have to take seriously.
Yes.
It's something that you're investing in yourself. So it's just something that you have to really think about. And I had to like get to know Marisa and get comfortable with her to be like, I want to invest in myself, but with her.
Mhm.
Um, and I have to say, it was a very amazing journey that we had together. And during this time, I believe I expressed to Marisa that I wanted to kind of get back into my faith with
Yes.
God. And I'm like, oh, the G word. Guys, if you're listening, if you're listening to this and you don't believe in God, I encourage you to still listen, because it's just not solely about like, God. It's about just others. It's more about like the higher power, I think we're going to talk about too. So don't get scared. We are friendly. We're not talking. I'm going to talk about that just a little bit because it helped me with so many things. So I expressed to Marisa that I wanted to get back into my faith a little bit more, and she started to implement like God into our sessions more and more for me, because I told her that's what I wanted. And so she introduced me to Joel Osteen, which is so which is the funniest thing, because at the moment I was so annoyed by his voice. I just was so turned off by it. I'm like, it's just very annoying. And I told her that.
You
Remember
should.
saying like, it's just very annoying. Like his voice is just very annoying. After I got over that, I would listen to an episode every day. I still, to this day, every single morning, you can ask my husband, I listen to an episode every single day. And he just laughs. Because it's like, in the beginning, I used to be very embarrassed. I didn't want anybody to know I was listening to this. But now, people, whoever listens, my millions of listeners that are listening to this podcast will now know that I listen to Joel Osteen every morning. And it sets my mood right.
Mhm.
And I think it's also the things that he says in the podcast, and he says every morning, and I just hold on to the words that he says about God and a higher power. And on a more personal note, it has helped me come out of my depression and anxiety. And I've had the depths of depression for a very long time. And it's something that I feel like I may always deal with, but on different levels. I don't think it'll be so intense every single time. And I think I'm getting more tools as I keep going through, through my life. But I have to say, and I'm saying this very carefully, for me, it was a combination of things. It wasn't just, thinking about, okay, I think God has a bigger plan for me. I think the universe has a bigger plan for me. And it's funny. So a year ago, when I first met Marisa, I started thinking about like the universe. Oh, I started thinking about like the universe, and then it kind of gradually like turned into like God. So however you guys are like thinking about whatever's coming up for you guys when you're listening to this, like God, universal higher power, just go with it. Like don't think just because I'm talking about God that it's gonna turn you away to like listen to this full episode. Um, but yeah, that's kind of how it changed for me. Marisa, if you can explain what spirituality means to you, if it's God, if it's universe, if it's higher power, we would love to hear it.
I love that. And I also love everything you've said. I just want to touch on that quickly because, yes, Kristen, you did come to me at a time where you were soul searching,
Mm,
the depths of your soul. And that is the most beautiful thing because it was right before you were coming into a sacred union with your husband.
mm,
And so it was necessary, okay, for you to have to purge, right? These different emotions, self limiting beliefs, generational trauma, generational curses, right?
mhm.
And so tying that into spirituality, Kristen's like, well, what am I supposed to do? I try to meditate and I just sit there and I can't do it. And I'm like, well, it's because you need faith,
Mm.
right? And there's like that famous saying, faith the size of a mustard seed will take you places farther than fear could ever steer you off course. And so when you ask me, what does spirituality mean to me? Spirituality is life.
Mm.
Spirituality is higher consciousness. So you can tie it to God, universe, source. I call it Gus, to make it cute and friendly, because there are a lot of beings here on this
I love
planet.
that.
Thank
Gus, can
you.
you say what that means? GUS?
Gus, God, universe, source.
Love that. I
Yes,
saw that
thank
on
you.
your Instagram the other day.
I've been saying it for a very long time, and I love it.
That's
Yeah.
amazing. I love that. Sorry to cut you off. I just thought that
No,
was really cool.
no, of course. You know what? I actually heard it from someone, and I'm gonna give her credit. Her
Mm.
name is Naomi, and I heard it from her in Salem about like 2 or 3 years ago. So
Mm.
shout out to you, Naomi. It's
Shout out
super.
Naomi.
We love you. So, but getting back to it, so, spirituality to me, right, is, God, universe, source. But what that really means is understanding that no matter how dark or deep the waters are that you're currently in, there's still a light that's going to uplift you out of that. But it is up to you to see the light. And now with that, right, things can only get as dark as they can get light, because it's the yin
Mm.
and the yang. So, Kristen, we'll take it back to you and highlight your progress and
Please. Yeah.
transformation. Think of it this way: when you came to me in September, October, November, those emotions and the things that you were going through, now, if you were to reflect back on it, you have so much positive learnings that you
Mm-hmm.
took from it, and a whole new perspective and outlook on life.
Yep.
Something that Kristen was on her dream list was to start a podcast, right?
How crazy is that?
And be a woman of influence
Yeah.
and share her story, right? And at first she was, oh no, you're crazy. It's not going to happen. No, 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 no. I'm like, okay, okay, listen to this podcast and come back to me. I don't know. I can't do it. I'm like, the only reason that you tell yourself you can't do it is because there's a part of you that wants it so bad, that doesn't believe that you can have it. But
Absolutely.
so you work through that. And that's how spirituality really is. It's that inner connection to self.
Mm. The inner
Mm-hmm.
connection to self. So it's interesting. So it has nothing to, it doesn't have to have anything to do with God if you don't
Well,
want it to be.
yes, you know what?
Right.
If you don't want it to be, I can give personal insight. I grew up in a household where there was no such thing as a higher power. And if you even wanted to try to bring that in to that household, it was just not encouraged, to say the
Mm.
least. And so, with that being said, and then you're on the complete flip side of the spectrum now, right?
Yeah.
Myself, how you can bring spirituality and your faith, right, together is through trusting, right? So when you trust yourself so much to know that I somehow am on this planet and I have all these veins and all these things happening, there must be something that is so powerful that created me, right? And that's
I
just
love
where
that.
you
Like,
just,
so, like something so much more than me that
mm-hmm,
created me.
mm-hmm.
And
So
it's something so much more than me that will help me get through this. And that for me was the I think that it was the faith that I needed. Like, okay, Kristen, I know you're at the deepest part of your depression and your anxiety right now. But what if I thought that there was more for me, but like there was a plan, somebody was doing something for me, like God. So the way that I was looking at it was like, this person, this image, this spirit, this God had more for me than I would ever know. But I just have to have faith in knowing that was going to happen.
mm-hmm.
And I love that spirituality is like within yourself,
Yes.
which is, it's pretty kick ass.
It is pretty fucking kick-ass,
It
quite
is.
frankly. Because a lot of people will be like, talk about this matrix and, oh, break
Mm,
out of the matrix. And if you would like for me to tell you what that is,
please,
the
please.
matrix is the rat race, my dear. That
Mm,
is the waking up and going to a job or
Mhm.
something that isn't a part of your purpose. It's not a part
Mm.
of your passion and your destiny, right? Granted, yes, we all have to do things to make a living, to provide for ourselves, to create stability, right?
Mhm.
But where that spirituality side of it and God and everything, it all starts to tie together, where you have to ask yourself, am I feeling this out of balance and out of alignment within my emotions and my spirit? Because what I'm doing in my physical day to day isn't in alignment with me. And that's when God, like you said, will have you go through these things to test your faith, to test your patience, because
Mm.
then that's when the blessing comes. Because think of it now. Look at you, fabulous in that new car.
Wait, it's just so freaking damn stop with your sunglasses. I'm surprised I didn't write this down because it was a story that we needed to tell in
Awesome.
regards to my car.
Oh, yes.
I told you about this. I think she probably was the first one that I'm like, this is the only person that's going to understand what I'm talking about right now. So anybody
Yeah.
else would be like, okay, Kristen, like you're a little wacky. Okay. I had backstory. If you follow me on Instagram, you probably know the story, but whatever, you're gonna hear it again. I've had my car for 13 years. Little Toyota Scion. Greatest little thing, right? Took me from A to B. My father got it for me 13 years ago. He bought it for me. Lord knows we know the relationship between my father and I. You can, if you don't, go back to the other episodes and you can listen. Um, but I've had this car, and it was time for me to get a new one. I'm 33 years old. Sooner or later, I want to start a family. And at that point, it kept on like breaking down. So like that, with that, obviously that was an issue.
Mhm.
So we were working with this person for a couple of months. And right now, if you're listening to this in 2022, the car market, from my understanding, has been crazy, crazy expensive. So speak to this guy for a couple of months, and he's giving us now. My husband and I, he has to get a car too because his loan he has to get another car. His loan is up. So we go back and forth with this loan person for a while, and we keep on getting these prices of like $500, and I'm like, I'm not doing that. Like, not that I don't want to. One, number two, I can't. That was just the thing. Like in those moments, it wasn't something that I could afford. Not even now. It's just something that I wasn't putting in the budget. My budget was more around like high 300s, which I thought was even high. My husband thought because it seemed to be more expensive. But right now, in this present moment, it seemed like that was like a rational price. So it didn't seem like it was happening. And I was just like, Nick, I'm just going to let it go for now. And you know what I started to do, Marisa, was that I started to become more grateful for the car that I really already had. And I
Mhm.
never was grateful for the car that I already had. In my head, it was a piece of shit car. And I
Mm.
just thought it was so ugly. And it just wasn't me. And I'm like, oh, I just hate it. But when I started to become more grateful for it, was when we got the call about that he found us a deal and that my car was going to be $389 a month with obviously a good amount of money down because I had to sell my old car. So I had somebody that was going to buy it for me. And we got like an upgraded version of the car last minute, which was something that I never thought that was going to happen. I wanted leather seats. I wanted like a luxury, somewhat of a luxury car. And I'm like, all right, Kristen, it's not gonna happen. But at the last moment, it happened. And I'm like, wait. And I'm a person which is terrible. I need to see it for me to believe it. I need to touch it. I need to feel it. So when the next day when we were like, okay, yes, we want that. We want that. We want that. The next day the cars came and I was like, oh my God, this is happening. Like I actually became grateful for something that I had and then I received something that I really wanted, which I thought
Mm.
was nuts.
And don't you see how God shows up in your life?
Right. That was the thing.
That's a
Was that
prime example.
he was like, okay, now that you're grateful after 13 years, I'm going to gift you something, right? Obviously, it's not a quote unquote gift, right? Because I paid for it. And it like no one gave it to me. But the way that it worked out was just, it couldn't be explained. That's the thing. And I feel like when you have things happen in your life that just can't be explained, maybe it's okay to like be like, okay, maybe it's something higher that's happening here. And that's nice. And it
Mhm.
makes you feel like, and that was for me was the big evidence for me to see like, wow, so God, it really is working in my life. Higher power, universe, whatever you want to call it, really is working here. And it's something that I would have never imagined. So now I sit in my car, I'm like, okay, like I really thought about, I knew I this is what I wanted. I wasn't going to stop until I got it. So the
So let me ask you a question.
yeah.
So what did you do continually every day to manifest that blessing into your life? Because it's that comes from the continual momentum
Yeah.
of having faith and such a strong desire that no
Yeah.
matter what your current reality is, you know what is going to be promised to you, right?
Mhm.
So what did you do?
So what I do? So and I'm not gonna lie, because I'm not gonna say that this happened every single day, because it didn't. I had some off days, right? We have some off days.
We all do.
So I would walk in the car, I'm like, you're a piece of shit. And then some days I would walk into the car, I'm like, oh, I'm so grateful for you. And that would be it.
Mm.
So it wouldn't be this long drawn out prayer or like seance of like, I love you, I love you, car. Even, and I'm not like poo pooing it. Like if that's how you roll, that's pretty, like you should do that because it probably makes you feel better. But I would say thank you. Thank you for this car that's going to take me to work, which will help me pay my bills, which is going to help me fund my dream that I'm working on.
Mhm.
So I had to say in that, and to be honest, my default is very negative. My default, like the way that I am, I can be just very negative. The default of myself. So it is something that you have to do. I have to do every single day. I don't wake up like I'm ready for the day, and I'm like, oh, I have to do these things to make me ready for the day, which is hard.
Yes.
So getting into that car that I knew wasn't mine anymore physically, but I knew I still had it, I was grateful for it. I became more grateful. And I don't
Mhm.
remember the time to where I became grateful to when we got the car. And I don't think it was a year, not at all. It was probably like maybe like a month or two. But please don't take that and say like, okay, I'll be grateful for 2 months and it will happen.
Think that no, you're totally right. So to whom is listening to this, it comes from coming from a space of pure gratitude, and
Hmm.
what works for one person will or will not be a major tool for someone else, and that's why everyone's own different practice, ritual, prayer, affirmation, meditation is so important.
Yep.
um when it comes to how you manifested this beautiful car and these upgrades and this, and I'll tell you this much, it's because you're so visual. From working with Kristen specifically, we would do a lot of guided meditations. And what
Hmm.
made you feel rich? What made you feel like a queen? What made you feel luxurious and deserving and worthy, right? That's where that all comes in from as well. I'm excited for you because once you can figure that out, you can just
Yeah.
start manifesting anything. Once the big manifestation comes in, after that, you just understand how to stay in receiving mode.
Right. Right. Yeah. And that was like one of the biggest stories that I wanted to tell. And I'm so happy that you brought it up because it was something that I saw with, I am a very visual person. That's how I always learned, like visual. Like I need a
Yes.
visual. Like
Mm.
when we first bought my home with my husband and I, it wasn't something that I wanted. And visually he could see it. And I'm like, but I just need the floor plan. I need what it's going to look like right now for me to say yes, because I had no idea. But I had to trust him to figure it out. But that just goes to show how visual I am. Like I actually need to see it.
Mhm.
And
You're like,
sometimes it's just putting your faith into something and saying, I'm going to visualize it in my mind, like a car. Okay, fine. If I don't see it in real life, doesn't mean it's not going to happen. It could happen, and you work so hard. So here's the thing, Marisa. We have to talk about, you can visualize, you can have the faith, right? But you actually have to put the work in, right?
mhm. Yes, you do.
I felt like I always used to think that I'm just going to think about it and I know it's just going to happen, but it doesn't happen that way. You actually have to put the work behind it. So much so because if you don't, like none of those things are actually going to happen. You actually have to work for it.
Yes.
right? Like, what do you think about that?
No, you do have to work for yourself. Think of it
Yeah.
this way. It's not that you are proving yourself right to your higher power. And because I journaled every day and I was a nice fucking person, that I
Right.
am worthy and deserving. No, I'm sorry. I'm here to tell you. It is because you're dedicated to yourself. It is from an outpouring amount of self love and
Mhm.
gratitude and appreciation for self and other beings.
Mhm.
The love and appreciation that we have for self should outwardly pour into the beings around you, right?
Mm.
So when God sees that he can use your vessel to spread more love and light, right?
Mm.
More spreading more love and light is through Kristen creating this podcast that you're getting great value and laughter from, right? Because it makes you feel warm and fuzzy inside, right? So that's how God and universe and source is using Kristen, right? And she gets to be in her purpose. And that is the continuum momentum of how your desires come in, because a lot of people think, oh, I'm just gonna journal and
Right.
then I'm gonna go for a walk in nature. And those are all fabulous, amazing things to
Right.
do. But it's how are you living in your purpose and how are you staying committed to your authentic truth?
Mm.
That is when blessings start to really come in for you.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I think that's so kick ass.
thanks.
Thanks so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed the episode, please like, share, follow on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and SoundCloud. Also, come follow me on Instagram, _Kristen_Ann88. And if you're ready to take the next step because you fucking deserve it, come take a look at my website on Instagram.